welcome to our first Chairman's Report of 2025. Peter Gay, along with the Chairman of the Select Board in Plainville, Brian Kelly, and another Brian Noble, your Town Administrator for Plainville. Guys, we talked about it briefly before we went on the air. We are now more than 7 months in, 7/12 of the way through FY25. So you're more than halfway there. How do the numbers, revenue, expenses compare to what you had budgeted at this point of the year?
We're right on schedule, right on track. Everything's fine. Very proud of our department heads who are watching the revenue versus their expenses and adjust accordingly. We're expecting a successful conclusion of this budget year in June. Still have a little time left, but so far we haven't gone back to the advisory board for any money. So consequently, everything is going well. Our projections are right on the money, and we're very comfortable. Knock wood.
And FY26 is going to be here before you know it. Where are you in the budget process?
Well, this will be a little bit more challenging a year. We do expect a cut in local aid from the Massachusetts. It's facing its own budget problems, which will trickle down to us. We're getting increases from our educational institutions that are higher than we would like, but we understand payroll costs, personnel costs, and special education costs are all rising. As you know, last year, the state authorized out-of-district tuition to rise 14%, but did not give us a corresponding increase in special education reimbursement. So consequently, we're sort of stuck in the middle there. We did sort of expect that special education costs would begin to wane a little bit after we catch up from COVID. That has not happened. We're investing more heavily in special education and trying to keep children at their grade level properly and working a little harder to do that.
The chair that Brian Kelly is sitting in, Mike Borg, town manager for the town of North Attleboro, was sitting in 2 days ago. He said, surprise when the insurance numbers for next year came out. Plainville in a similar situation. I think North Attleboro is looking at a 15% increase, $1.7 million increase.
Right. Well, remember, of course, that North Attleboro and Plainville are one group.
Yeah.
We procure our insurance together. So the quote, the opening salvo from Blue Cross Blue Shield is a 15% increase. And of course, we are in a little bit of a deficit because our claims have been higher than projected. So we're in deficit at the moment, and we'll have to make that up in addition to the increase. So of course, we're looking at different ways that we can save money for the town, maybe accept a little higher deductible, but then that will cost less, but then we'll make it up to the employees with like an HSA contribution or something of that nature to make
I know
the blow a little
Franklin
harder.
does that.
Yes. Franklin's we have the problem across the board. It is not just what's happening in municipalities. Healthcare costs are rising at an inflation rate in excess of 7%. Consequently, it's squeezing everything. And we're not the only ones. Businesses facing the same issues. Municipality isn't exempt from what's happening in the real world. Consequently, we have to look at how do we do this. And one of the problems you run into, there's only so much money to go around. We only have so much that comes in from Proposition 2.5. And my board, in particular, Mr. Kelly, is very insistent that we are not raising taxes. We need to make do. We need to budget more carefully. We need to buy more prudently. And so far, so good. When you get a massive increase like Blue Cross Blue Shield is discussing, it does sort of throw you up for a loop.
I know you certainly don't. You don't work in the insurance industry, do you?
No, I do not.
Because I don't know if you saw the hearings on Capitol Hill, but the pharmaceuticals, the health insurance companies are making record profits and so on. It's like, come on, folks.
We're taking a hit on prescription medication because some of the newer drugs, the weight loss drugs and things of that nature, they're very costly. And we certainly wouldn't want to deny any of our employees access to what they need for their health and their maintenance of their health. But the cost of some of these drugs are outrageous. And I'm not sure what the answer is. I'm all for the open market and the free market, but these are just a little bit way out of line.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to call you Mr. Kelly and Mr. Noble because the Brian and Brian always confuses me. Mr. Noble mentioned the limits of Proposition 2.5, which, you know, in the old days, towns would set their budget and then just raise taxes accordingly, and it became unaffordable for people living in towns. The key for a community is new growth. Is there any new growth on the horizon in Plainville?
There is. So last time we were here, we mentioned our bridge plan, right? So some of the a couple things that were going on, a water treatment facility. We'll talk about an update on that in a little bit. The new Tri-County school that's being built, and those costs coming into the community right after Plainville dug itself out of a financial hole. So you know, how do we solve this issue and be able to have the budget requirements be met year over year without having to go back to the town for an override? And the idea is to set aside money in a special reserve account to cover the forecasted shortfall for the next couple of years until some of this new growth arrives. We had a new growth boom, I would say, the last few years. It's starting to simmer down a little bit, although there are rumblings of more coming and projects that are already underway. And so we just need to bridge the gap, and I think we can do that with the free cash number we're going to have this year.
I'm going to show my age here. You might not remember it. What happened to the proposal for the old Plainville Drive-In? Is that dead, or is that just on the shelf for now?
It's on the shelf at the moment. When interest rates climbed, they got cold feet. The project is still alive, but it comes down to financing. Brian assures me that interest rates are coming down, so we may see that project comes back on the table. That is a really needed project. Good use of the land, no impact to our schools. The way that the traffic pattern has been laid out by the petitioner would not affect traffic dramatically. We need that growth.
And the intersection of 106 and 152 is being addressed, and there are plans to
Correct.
make that much easier to get through, whether you're coming from Plainville, from North Attleboro,
Yep.
or Mansfield.
Right, it'll be better in every direction there. Yeah, I mean, 3 major projects happening. You know, Plainville Square we talked about with the Kinneys in the past. We've got the TIPS project for 1A happening now, very much underway in the planning stages, and then also, yeah, right, 106 and 152. So a lot of big projects happening.
Market basket.
Yep.
Yeah, Market Basket,
Yep.
huge. Yeah, love Market Basket.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it
I do
cannot
too. I
open
just
soon
want
enough.
them
It's the
now.
I've never seen so many employees working in a supermarket as there are when, I mean, you go to Shaw's, you go to Stop, and you can't find anyone. Nobody, even the registers aren't even open. Market Basket has every register open with a cashier and a bagger. It's absolutely incredible.
and the lowest prices pretty much
Yeah,
around.
yeah. All right, let's get to some of the projects going on. Let's begin, and I saw this, I think, during one of the select board meetings. I forget which one. Probably the one where I said, hey, Brian Kelly's got a beard now. Contractor on-call invitation for bid. You have results, do you?
We have results. I believe an award's been made.
We have results. Award's been made. We had great participation. Over 10 companies put bids in.
And which project is this for?
So this is what's called the on-call contractor.
Okay.
Instead of stopping in an emergency, a water main break or a bridge collapse or something of that nature, you don't have to stop and do the bid procedure, because no matter how good the emergency bid procedure is, it still takes more time.
Yeah.
Consequently, we do a bid in advance of an issue, and it's called the contractor on call. So we get prices for the delivery of services in an emergency, or frankly, you have a manhole cover that collapses or something of that. So it's a relative degree of what's an emergency, but we can just call them without having to go out through the formal bid process. So we did get several bidders. We have a winner. It's called Blue Diamond. They're out of Foxborough that won the bid. This is a 1-year contract, and we will see how that works. And then next year we'll go out again and maybe adjust some things that, highlight things that did work, or adjust some things that maybe that didn't work, so that we'll perfect that process over time. We have actually had, and as Brian and I have discussed before we came into the meeting, we've had a call from a general contractor that has put together a group of 3 local contractors that wants to do the PAL water line project as a donation.
Really?
This
amazing.
this is a significant offer from our 3
And
local
PAL is the
contractors.
Plainville Athletic League.
Thank
Correct.
you.
Yeah.
This is a major project. We need to get water to the PAL field. And I need to run it down the edge of the road from the nearest water main to them. So we're talking about somewhere in the neighborhood of $100,000. If they donate the labor and equipment, this is a great savings to the town. It's a great community project for our 3 local contractors. And when that occurs, if this comes to fruition, we're going to be talking about those 3 contractors nonstop.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Are those the fields? Once again, I'm showing my age. Near where the old Dominican Academy School was. You might not even know where the old Dominican Academy School was.
I don't.
Yeah, it's at the end of School Street, right?
Yes.
Up on the hill,
yes.
yeah. So you
Yes,
take a
it's
left
on
on
Everett
Skinner, and
Skinner.
it's up there on the right. Yep, exactly. And yeah, they've been having problems with their well for the last few years, to the point where the snack shack wasn't able to function
wow.
properly. Bathrooms, it was just outhouse only. And so now, if we can get water up there, we can get back to business as usual up there, and you know, get the kids the summers that they deserve up there.
Why wouldn't somebody want an outhouse during the summer? I don't understand. Water treatment plant. This is the
Yeah,
big project.
it is indeed.
Overwhelming support at town meeting. This is going to be huge for the town of Plainville.
We've gone through the permitting procedure now, both with Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection. We've gone through the Mass Department of Public Utilities. We've gone through our own boards, Health and Planning Board. The state threw an additional requirement that sort of rubs me the wrong way. They wanted to do an archaeological survey on the property to see that there weren't any, you know, Indian burial sites or anything that we would disturb. But that was $85,000. And I think when the state throws a requirement like that at the end of the process, they should fund it if they want to do it. And that, I don't mind the archaeological survey. I minded the delay. I minded the late notice, and I really do mind the price, because this is taxpayer money, this is user money, and I think they should have been more sensitive to that. So we did, however, do it. We're in compliance. They did not find anything, so we're good to go. We will be putting the project out for bid in March, and we'll see where we go from there.
Now, where is water treated in Plainville now, or is it
George Street.
George Street?
Yeah,
Okay.
we have a water processing plant, and as you know, we have a reciprocal agreement with North Attleboro, where we have 2 wells that are connected directly to the North Attleboro treatment plant, and then we pay North Attleboro to treat it, and it feeds back into both systems.
Which, from a PFAS point of view, is good, because North Attleboro is ahead of the curve when it comes to lowering PFAS.
Well, interestingly enough, Plainville's always been in compliance with the
Really?
PFAS limits. And because we're an interconnected system, and North Attleboro had a few wells that were out of compliance, we had to participate in notifying everybody of the concentration of PFAS. And of course, that, you know, starts the Facebook nonsense.
Yeah, try explaining that. The water's fine, but here's a
So-
notice
I was
saying
answering
it's not.
questions on Facebook last night, and I really shouldn't have been. And I wasn't even drinking. That's the amazing thing.
Well, the other thing, and while we're in a public environment, I want to compliment North Attleboro's DPW, and particularly Director Hollowell, for his great assistance, coaching, leadership, advice. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that person, as well as the support of the town of North Attleboro in giving us some suggestions on how we could do better.
Pool house update. I assume this is the pool in Telford Park?
It is, yeah. You wouldn't recognize it. It's basically been built out over the course of the last year. We're down to just a couple of minor things. I think it's getting Wi-Fi enabled up there. And is there
Wi-Fi
something-
enabled, and then we've decided to put an epoxy floor down in the 2 locker rooms. So one of the things that's somewhat amusing to me is our facilities manager is a perfectionist, and he wants it perfect. And so they've done some really, some things for that pool house that were not originally part of the project, but he felt that it was necessary to do, putting comfort height toilets into the locker rooms, epoxying the floors in the locker room, He's putting a family changing room together. He's a perfectionist in the sense that he built all the door frames at home and brought them in ready to go. Rather than buying prefab, he wanted them just so.
It looks great, right? I mean, right now, our parks director is working out of a small office in another building, which, it's not a place that he deserves to work in. And this new spot is a great place that's, on par with like how Town Hall looks when you walk in. So it really is an amazing transformation of that building. It's going to be a great spot for the kids. And just like we mentioned, I don't know if we said this on air, but I want to make sure it's said that when we talk about the PAL water line, we want that in place, ready to go for opening day. That is the goal. And here, same thing with the pool house, have everything ready to go for the opening of the park season.
You know what I love? People and communities. It's one thing to do a project, but to do it right. And it sounds like the pool house will be done right, the way you would want it done. Speaking of pools, Hockomock Area YMCA, of course, had the fire.
Yeah.
Any chance they'll be opening this year? I know that's private compared to public, but that's certainly important.
Well, unfortunately, the state did not approve the swimming pool design that was there, and so now that has been completely removed. The building burned down. I think the Y is in a quandary where they want to go. Certainly, the town stands ready to receive a proposal from the Y. We'd like to see something there, but we recognize that there may be more obstacles there than we realize.
And how about the flooding issue in that area, the land next to it? The solar farm, right?
I think the solar farms issues have been addressed.
Okay.
It's a continual work in process. We're going to be monitoring that for years to come. But it's two parcels. It's not only the solar farm, but now it's also the YMCA property. And they are responsible, as any other landowner is, about water coming off the property. So we'll see how this goes in the long run. When they do decide on a development plan, they have to go before the Board of Health for what's called an MS4 permit, which is the water plan. So we'll see what they have to do. We want to protect our neighbors there dramatically because we saw what happens when there isn't proper retention on the property.
Yep.
And I wouldn't wish that on anyone.
Right.
Seems like we're talking about water, and let's face it, you need water to live, and we saw what happened in California when there's not enough water. So while we're on the subject of water, let's skip ahead. Water replacement, water meter replacement bid. How old are the meters, and what kind of money are we talking about here?
Over $1.2 million
Wow.
for all of the meters. The couple of problems there is you're supposed to change the meters every 10 years because they do become inaccurate over time. They get clogged up, et cetera, or in many cases stop working. The town hasn't replaced meters in over 14 years. We have a number of meters not working. The new meters that we put out to bid, I am thrilled to tell you, we're going to do this over a 3-year period. Originally, that was our plan. ARPA is covering the first 1/3. We estimated the bid to come in at $500,000. It came in at $400,000, so there's a great savings there. We will be starting that project shortly. I'll be going back to town meeting to ask for more money to do the other 2 phases of the project. The technology has changed on water meters, and this is going to be fascinating to see that change. They are more accurate, right down to the minute. They transmit the data to the town hall computers on a daily basis. And you can look at your cell phone and you can see what water usage you're doing.
That's incredible.
So if you're in Florida and all of a sudden you have a water leak, you will know before you come home and find your house flooded. Consequently, we're seeing a tremendous improvement. The company that won the bid assures us that the meters are more accurate and that the meters will pay for themselves in measuring accurately.
Right. So have there been residents, no fault of you two gentlemen, but who have really been getting water that they're not paying for, or certainly at a discounted rate?
Well, certainly there's been issues where, we've been doing estimated bills and then all of a sudden the meter is actually red and it come to find out they haven't been charged enough. And so you end up with this huge bill.
And then they're unhappy.
And then they're unhappy, and right. And so, so, I mean, you're running basically a water business within the town, and you're if you can't accurately measure your product, that's a problem. So we've got to get these fixed, and also I think part of this, right, is the checking of the line coming into the house to make sure that there's no lead in
No
those
lead.
lines.
So we'll be doing both at the same time, checking to make sure the water connection is lead-free. And everybody, we have to do that under federal law. We have to look at everybody's connection to make sure that the lead is gone.
Yeah. What is the state going to do to throw a wet blanket over this project?
Just simply not provide any money.
Yeah.
Of course. Humphrey House, Historical
Yeah.
Commission, of course. Humphrey House, I've been in there a number of times. It's absolutely amazing. The old
Yep.
Plainville High School.
It's awesome.
Window replacement.
Yes.
So you not only need to replace windows, but they need to look historically like they belong in that building.
Exactly. Yeah, this was one of two projects, the Pal water line being the other, where CPA funds were used at the last town meeting. This was the other.
CPA is?
Community Preservation
Okay.
Act. So it's a 1% surcharge on the tax bill that goes into a special fund, and it has to be used for specific needs, and historical preservation is one of those needs. And so good use of those funds. The town overwhelmingly approved that. They're looking at options right now for window replacement, trying to determine who they want to replace those windows and what they want them to look like. And so the commission's making those decisions now. There's a potential that depending on who they select, the cost could be potentially more than what was pre-approved. So in that event, we would have to just put that on the warrant for the next town meeting to get those remaining dollars released in order to get this project done correctly. But that's just something that is up to the commission to decide, how and when this will happen, and the town's, standing behind them to support it.
I know we talked briefly about health insurance and the fact that it's going up. It never goes down.
Yeah, nothing does, it seems.
It's going up. Blue Cross Blue Shield, let's face it, is good health insurance. Is there a possibility that the town with North Attleboro may be looking at maybe a Tufts or someone else? Harvard Pilgrim?
We're going to have to look very carefully, and this we do together with the employees. We don't.
Yeah.
This is not a dictation. This is a cooperative engagement. It's our insurance. It's my insurance. So we're going to do this with a dialogue, and both towns have an insurance advisory committee, which is made up of representatives of the collective bargaining units as well as the retirees and non-union employees. And they will look at the options that are available and make a determination. We all think, because we have a Blue Cross Blue Shield card in our wallet, that they're providing our insurance. That's not really the case. They're administering our insurance. The two towns pay our claims. So consequently, they're just the guys shuffling the paperwork. It's not Blue Cross Blue Shield's insurance. It is them managing our money to pay for the medical services provided to our employees. That's called ASO services, so Administrative Services Organization. And we will have to look at other companies that can manage ASO services, like, for example, Harvard Pilgrim or Tufts, and see what they will charge us.
I first started working at the Balfour Company back in the 70s. I first started learning about health insurance. I'm now 65 years old. I still don't understand. So is it a CBA issue, collective bargaining agreement, since we're throwing initials around?
The direct answer to the question is it's not a 150E bargaining situation. The teachers union is the largest union that we have in the town. According to the state, it's one man, one vote. So the teachers play a key role in where we do what we do. But under Massachusetts law, it still has to be bid out under the law. So it becomes an interesting argument whether when we change ASO services, whether it's a bargainable event or not. So the direct answer to the question is we try to sit down and have a normal conversation about how much anybody's willing to pay for insurance. In Plainville, we're 25-75, meaning the town pays 75% of the cost and the employee pays 25% of the cost. So we certainly have an awful lot at stake on who we select as a provider.
Right.
And while we're on the subject of insurance, property and casualty insurance, how does that look moving forward?
Well, I locked in a rate before the disasters in the southeast, and before the California fires.
Wow.
So we locked in at 2.5% for FY26. Right now, I'm very proud of myself. This may catch up with us in a year, but
Do you have a lot of claims?
well, you know, all of our property and casualty insurance includes our automobile insurance.
Okay, yeah.
Includes our workers' comp policies. And yes, we've got cars on the road 24/7, 365. And yes, they get into accidents. Sometimes a police car is rammed,
Yep.
and other times a police car, you know, because it's on the road 2 out of the 3 shifts a day. One had a branch drop on a police car the other day and dented the roof. That's a claim. So we watch our claims. We try not to put in what we don't have to put in because, you know, it's the old same thing with your insurance. You have an accident, your rates are going up.
Which I like insurance companies, especially the ones that underwrite with us, but I don't like insurance companies because I could be paying 20 years, never make a claim, and then in year 21, I make a claim, they're $50,000 ahead, I make a $3,000 claim, and my rates go up. It just doesn't seem fair. That's why I asked you earlier, you're not in the
I
insurance
am
business.
not. I am not.
This is why you shop.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you can have a competitive environment like anything. I mean, you know, you mentioned insurance. I mean, there's so many things. There's so many headwinds against these towns. Whether it's these big projects, whether it's energy costs, whether it's labor rates. It's a constant battle. This is just one of them. And you know, we've had these emergency reserve funds that we've created for special education, for energy. It's almost like at some point, health insurance, if it keeps doing this to us, we need to be prepared for that as well.
So it sounds like you guys really haven't been working on much, huh? It never slows down, does it?
No, no. And when you think you come up for a breath, something else happens. So you always want to be prepared, and that's why I say, you know, the town at this point, not only have we gotten our head above water, we've been able to start to put some money away. Our reserves are better than they've ever been. So now we are better prepared to, you know, to weather those storms when they come, because they will.
Final question, and it's not for you, Mr. Noble, it's
Thank
for
you.
Mr. Kelly.
Oh, boy.
You are up for re-election in
I am.
April. Is it April
7th, I believe.
7th? So this year you're behind North Attleboro. You're normally the night before, but this year, because they're on April 1st, you therefore would be the 7th. Will Brian Kelly's name be on the ballot running
It will
for
be.
re-election?
Yes,
Really?
it will be. Yep.
What are you, a sadist?
This will be my third term. It's just one of those things where when I ran the last time around, we hadn't yet been able to prove to the town what I had been talking about bringing in the new growth and how we're going to get out of the situation that we were in. We were the election was only a couple of months before the town meeting where we could show them the results of all the effort that had gone into it. The last 3 years have been, I think, you know, there's always things to improve, always things to work on, but based on where we had come from, a very much more comfortable position. So really proud of that work and want to continue the town going in that direction.
And people may not like new growth, especially if it's somewhere near their neighborhood, but it's vital. It really is.
Well, I think you need to define it: pragmatic,
Yeah.
gradual,
Yeah,
well planned.
yeah. And let's face it, the Market Basket, for example, that's really not going to impact any neighborhoods.
No, a lot of the new growth that is in the works at the moment is in places where you would anticipate it to be, you know, in places where people expect it to be. So I don't see much, pushback on what's coming.
Gentlemen, as always, a pleasure, and I'll be in touch with you about a possible debate, certainly a one-on-one interview.
Sounds great.
Thank you,
Look
gentlemen.
forward to it.
The Chairman's Report, the Chairman of the Select Board in Plainville, and of course, your Town Manager, Brian Kelly and Brian Noble, respectively. Thank you for watching this edition of the Chairman's Report.